What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to go through how I built this crab from scratch in Photoshop for my Crabs movie poster design. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, this is the final poster, but I want to take you back into the beginning stages of how this poster kind of like came together. After my Zoom call with the director Pierce, he's a great guy, by the way. I sent him this super rough concept for the poster. I wanted this beach scene of the crabs coming out of the ocean. I wanted to feature the giant kaiju fight that happens at the end of the film. But the main thing I wanted to do was have this crab jumping at the viewer. So I found a bunch of random crab stock photos that would help me get my idea across to the director. I showed this to him and he's like, dude, super sick. It's a nice different perspective of the movie poster that we already have. Roll with this. So then he sent me some images of the crab that they actually used in the film. The quote unquote issue with this is that these were the only angles that I had. The great thing is that I had images to use at all. But if there was one issue is that these are the only angles that I had. So I had to get very creative with how I use them. So I've got the front of the crab here, and I've got this nice shot of the underbelly here. Initially, what I ended up doing was I took this side, duplicated, like I took this side of the crab, I duplicated it, brought it over to round out this side, blended it all in and all that, just so I had a full crab to work with, right? So then let's hop over to the main poster. Let's walk through these steps. So I took the I took that main image of the crab and I did a distort on it. It looks a little weird here. Whatever. It'll look a lot better, trust me. I also had to go take the bottom of the crab, which is seen here, and I kind of had to maneuver that around because when an actual crab is jumping at you, which I learned a bunch of behavior things from the director, which was nice, but I didn't originally have this part. It looked a little weird not having it, but I didn't have this part because I had distorted it and all that kind of stuff. But it needs to be there because when a crab's jumping at you, its claws are going to be coming at you like this, right? Its head is going to be like here, but its back isn't going to be like this. It's going to be lunging at you like this, right? So I needed to portray that from this front view. That's what we worked with. I started getting rid of a bunch of these little like random intricacy, like these little random pieces here. Just kind of cleaning this up. Started to add some texture here, and this is going to be later in the process when I started to add these things, but I'm just going through my layers here and just kind of going through like the build. But I started adding some extra textures off to the side. These were taken from a couple of different images of the crabs that I had, and then this was puppet warped. If you've never seen puppet warp before, it's just kind of a cool way. You can tell these things to kind of stay here. It's just kind of a cool way to bend photos, and it kind of does a lot of the warping itself for you. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I did a bunch of puppet warp for this to kind of get that warping angle. I did the same thing here just to really accentuate the roundness of the sides and get some extra detail. Started to add some shadows to push that back because that's going to be kind of like concave. It needs to have some shadows, and it helps create depth, like this thing is actually a 3D object jumping at you. Some more shadows, and look, some more shadows. Then I started playing with getting rid of some of this detail, adding in. Adding some more detail, and all this little small detail just helps trick the eye in believing that this is an actual real object, right? So then here is the bottom of the butt, I guess, of the crab. And then I started adding in the tail. And again, this angle is a little weird. Like, I feel like this should be coming up. It would technically be coming up a little bit more towards the viewer, but there was only so much that we could do, and it was kind of tucked behind the logo anyway, so the point is there. Then you add the top, and this is all masked out. Started playing with the lighting. Of course, this top is pointed more towards the sun, so this is going to be lit more than underneath here for sure. Add some shadows. So then I started working on the small claws, and each one of these were pieces as well. So we had our ends here that I had to bend and warp. Some shadows, more pieces. And this was just taken off of a different kind of crab. We talked about the different small claws that we wanted to have. And then it was just about placing them correctly into the crab that we were building. And then it came down to really getting the ends to look correct, like you see here. This is how the original, where is this, man? This is how the original points were, and it just didn't look like the crab was actually going to go grab the viewer, so we had to swap them. I had to warp them into a different position so that it looked like it was more so going to grab the viewer, which was another portion of small details that make it look real. We then ended up bringing them in a little bit further, so I just combined them both, brought them in further, and added some shadows. The big claws would be next, and like everything else, these were just built. These were, I didn't have anything really to work off of, so it was just making it happen. I'll go through these as well. So I started off with just this piece of a crab arm, right? It looked like this, and then I started going in and adding highlights and shadows and coloring to get it to look like the best that I could as to what it would actually look like. Then I had the connecting piece, so I had to add a bunch of shadows, highlights, to have it blend in, coloring, and then it came down to the actual claw itself, which is here. And part of getting this claw to work as well, this is like a 3D claw that I grabbed off of Envato Elements. I was able to shift it and rotate it into where I wanted it to be. But then part of getting this to look creepier was just cutting out, because this is how it was originally. And then I created a mask to make, some sharper edges, make it look more horror-esque. And then, of course, I needed to relight this thing. So that was all about just painting in shadows and highlights through different exposures, and all of that. Did some recoloring there. And then all it came down to was getting the color balance to fit in with the rest of the poster, and then popping on some curves and messing with the levels. And you throw the logo on, you add a shadow underneath this jumping crab, and then all of a sudden you've got a 3D crab jumping at you from the ocean, and it's super sick. That was such a super quick, just like breakdown of how I built this crab. Trust me, it was hours of work, trial and error. But yeah, I'm looking to do more of these behind the scenes videos on like how I built my posters. If that's something that you guys are interested in, please be sure to leave a comment on this video and let me know.